Tis the season to start begging off everybody. I've got a full time job and a side job with working with Keeping It 100. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to put my hand out and expect everybody else to give me shit that I want. I'm going to Hackamania 3 next year in Vegas, which of course means I want you pieces of shit to finance literally every single part of it all the way. I may get hungry on the plane, so I would like for you to pay for that for me. Fuck you all, please. Uh, but of course, there's a poll in the chat which we will get to after I speak to this lovely man. The thinner than he's been in years, Sean Oliver. Sean, how are you doing today, my sweet?
If that can precede me everywhere I go, that would be awesome. Sean, thinner than he's been in years. Um, yeah, and thank you for founder of Kayfabe Commentaries. Usually, it just says the dick bag guy or the Batista's dick guy. Doesn't matter what I do in life. 10 books. This latest nonfiction, historical, groundbreaking book. It's still gonna say Batista's dick on my epitaph.
I did not notice until right now. You really look like Robert Downey Jr.
It's really funny. So as I age, I'm starting to get this an inordinate amount of time. If I'm wearing sunglasses, it doesn't stop. So yeah, I just now. I always got an amalgamation of people when I was a young actor. I'd get Spader, James Spader. When I was a much younger man, Rob Lowe sometimes. Um, but now it's aging Downey is what I'm going for.
Well, I've been told that I'm a lot like Rob Lowe, but only because I get caught fucking a teenager. But it's
Well, but you look a little like Rob Lowe's cock from that film. I don't know about the actual Rob Lowe, but if they zoom in, I think there might be a resemblance. Hey, in your opening, why the pride ropes? What's that in the wrestling ring? Why did you create the pride flag with the ropes?
we're not going to talk about that right now. But what we are going to talk about is co-host, and we've got a nice piece of ass here, and if I may say, looks better than ever. It is the beautiful Mr. Christmas himself, Shuli Egar. Shuli, how are you doing today, my sweet?
Husey, it's a pleasure. Sean, I won't kiss your ass like Husey. Good to see you, you fat fuck. It's been a
Thank you.
while.
Appreciate
And
it.
always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to be here.
Uh, Sean, are you ready for a hilarious wrestling joke?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, strap in. This is going to get really
Raw.
good.
WWE Raw. There it is.
Hey, hey, Shuli,
Yeah.
nice John Cena costume.
Hey-oh!
Unbelievable. That's good stuff right there. And if you don't get, and if you did, and you think that's funny, we're going to get you to maybe the funniest guy in the world. Dan from Nice Podcast, Stupid. Dan, how are you doing today?
I don't know about that. Obviously, Kevin Nash couldn't join us today, so they got me instead, as a backup. So I answered the call. We have a lot in common, the millions and the 7 feet tall. No, actually, not even close. But I took a little bit break from watching Joshi Japanese wrestling, girls jumping through the air. And I figured I'd come on, and happy to meet Sean, and big fan from back in the day. Loved all the shoot interviews, so it's great to meet him.
Yeah, I'm here too, by the way, Dan. And it's nice to meet you, and I'm a big fan of your defensive play calling. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
How we doing?
Well, speaking of the grift, so I put up a chat where you can help. I want to know how you're a poll in the chat, I should say. I want to know how you're donating to my Las Vegas fund. You can either send numerous small super chats, or you can gift memberships, or you can donate, as I like to call them, red boys only, or do nothing and hit the like button. I wonder what people will do. That's interesting options right there. And look at this straight away, kicking it off like I'm going first class private jet for $2 from Carlos Danger, big fat guy. Uh, Collateral sucks, you Jamie Foxx simp.
So he's a fat fuck. You know him?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It seems to be the theme tonight.
yeah. I mean, you're nowhere near his level, Sean.
Right. Oh, so that's clearly.
Jesus, look at this for a roast. Can you handle the roast, Don?
How about we all shut our cameras off?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, well, a question that I've got. Well, we can't turn off too many cameras in case you miss out on this.
I want to see your dirty snatch and your asshole at the same time. That's what I want.
Is it me?
Yes, but I gotta ask you, Sean. Okay, here we go.
I
Now
thought
we're
you were talking
getting
to me.
stuff. But I gotta ask you, Sean. So, of course, one of the stories at the minute is the lovely and talented Vince Russo. He's been he of course has started with working with ICP on a wrestling show, and it's blown up pretty quickly. But he keeps mentioning your name, saying that you helped set that all up. So go into vast detail about how you helped set that up. What is the amount in your bank account? Where do you live? And how big is your penis?
Well, that's all been covered on YouShoot. So let me just do the Russo stuff. So am I supposed to break kayfabe with all this? I've never been on this side of it, so I don't quite know what. So I was working on a project with ICP and Violent J, and it resulted in the brilliant coffee table book called Unaccepted Volume 1. About ICP's entire career in wrestling. So in doing this, I was, working with Jay a lot, and there were many overtures to me to do something creatively with him with his wrestling company, which I wouldn't do because it's just not what I do, and I think you have to have a sense of where you belong and where you don't, and I don't want to make a mistake on someone else's dime. Kayfabe Commentaries, I would have made a mistake on my own dime. Anything I do with my name on it, I will happily fall on my sword. But, somebody else's, and, never having written television for wrestling, I just always said that's not what I do. However, in Jay's quest to get JCW to another level, one of the things that I did suggest was another writer to work with him, in lieu of him, however much he wanted the person to be involved. And it would have had to been someone that that works a little outside the box. So I thought Russo would have been perfect. So I was always good with Vince, and I called him and I said, is this something you would do? And then there was a lot of massaging the process with the two of them working, because Jay did everything himself. He's very much a control guy, and he should be. It's his company, it's his money. And he's built something. I mean, they've been doing this for 30 years almost. So I knew there was going to be a reticence to part with the way things were done. But if you want to go to the next level, if you want to be covered with traditional wrestling, if you want to be mentioned in the same website sheets, who fucking read sheets anymore, on the same websites that NWA is covered, and all the other indies that are given all this cred, then some things are going to have to change about Juggalo Championship Wrestling. He was already branding Lunacy as his show name, and so if he was willing to part with some things or augment some things, I thought he could probably get to that next level. He's a very creative guy, and he has a lot of talent that goes through that company. So I was kind of the middleman for a lot of the process, because it could be combustible to put someone like Russo, who likes to really upset the apple cart, with Joe, who might have been hesitant to do that. So I was kind of the middleman in the process. Even with the scripts would come to me, and then I'd review them with Joe, and then I'd go back to Vince, and until they were how everybody liked it. And here we are. They're putting a lot of shows in the can. They're shooting very aggressively. They've been on the road a ton this year. I think more this year than JCW's ever been on the road. And we shall see where it all goes.
But surely you're someone that I always thought would start a company called JCW, but not Juggalo. When you seen this type of thing being set up, did it actually catch your interest enough to check it out? Because it seems like numbers wise, it's the biggest stuff ICP has done for a while.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I did have a JCW in the works, Jewish Coin Wrestling, but once they started their thing up, they got. I'm already caught up in a lawsuit. I can't fight everything, Husey. But first, having done the gathering of the Juggalos one time, and been up there and have witnessed the scene and the world these guys created. First of all, off their music, number one, and then to parlay that into so many other fields of revenue and doing the stuff that they love. That's, I think, one of the biggest reasons that it works is because when you're passionate about something, it's not a job, it's not work. You don't realize you're putting in 14-hour days because you're doing something you always dreamed of doing. So, and Vince, I know I may be on an island here, but I've always been a huge fan of Vince, and I've always gotten along with Vince, and he's a really, really good dude. Periodically he will text me during all the Stuttering John stuff and just go, "This is a work, right? You guys are all in on this together, right?"
Dude, he's the biggest Stern fan in the world.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yeah, he watches the Dabbleverse. He's involved. He keeps tabs on everything, and he's a good dude, man. And again, a guy who does what he loves. Like, I know he's had a lot of experiences that left a bad taste in his mouth with this business, but the people who are in this business are in it because it's all they want to do for the most part. And the people that are in it for ulterior motives, they get weeded out eventually, and you're left with the classics, the icons, the way it should be.
I was shocked you left out that your Jew coin wrestling would be headlined by Goldberg, but you couldn't afford him.
No, we don't want him actually hurting Jews in real life in the ring. You know what I mean?
And Dan, of course, you're sitting there seemingly wearing a hoodie made out of your own face skin.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it camo, right? Camouflage.
You look like your whole body is Kevin Brennan's face. Speaking of
serious question, are the Chiefs going to turn around this season? That's what I want to know, Coach. Hit me. What do you got?
Oh, I see. You're doing the Andy Reid thing.
All right, it's fine. Like I never bombed before. I don't give a shit. Go ahead.
Do you like? Is it working? Is it working?
Everything you do works, man. I dig. I respect your chutzpah. Get out there. Do your thing.
You look
man.
like one of the SWAT team guys trying to break into Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah. Spin that hat backwards and put up that sniper rifle.
Yeah, send in the car. Look like one of those bitches that hurt their hands on a rose bush while they're running in before Hans Gruber's guys. Kick their fucking heads in, you pussy.
Yeah, you need more tenants in your cunt.
That's what you get, Dan, when you fuck with me. But Dan, me and you are sort of a couple of old marks, but is this sort of shit, is this sort of stuff the type of stuff that'll get you rewatching, or are you sort of just sticking to the classics, Pretty Eyes?
Well, I don't know about everybody else. I can't watch wrestling anymore. It fucking blows. Sean,
I'm with you.
Sean,
I'm
tell
with
me
you,
why I should watch any wrestling right now. There's nothing that entertains me at the moment, and maybe there's something that gets you, grabs you, but Tony Khan has no fucking idea what he's doing. Clearly,
why should you watch wrestling or a specific company?
I'm sorry. What the product that's being put out right now, the current storylines, the current, not just in general. I mean, wrestling, obviously, if you're a wrestling fan, you're a wrestling fan, but it seems like we're in a little bit of a down period. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I think you should watch JCW Lunacy every week, because it's written by and put on by people who can't stand the wrestling product today either. So I think there'll be a simpatico with their sensibility. But why should you watch WWE or AEW? Because you have a show with Kevin Nash. that drives, 50 million views so far on YouTube over 3 years. And,
What does Kevin think about the product behind the scenes when you guys aren't on camera? What's his take behind the? Because obviously you got to be a little bit positive towards wrestling. You can't be totally down on wrestling all the time. But do you guys really like the product that's being put out right now?
do we like it? I don't know how much we'd watch if we didn't have the show. But the one thing we said from when we started Kliq This was we looked at the podcast landscape and said, one thing we're not going to do is fucking cover Raw every week. And all we've done for 176 episodes tomorrow was cover Raw. Now, we cover a lot of stuff. That's what people like. It's Kevin's theory on it. I said, what's the pitch? When he came to me, and he said, 2 guys at a bar. I said, all right, I get it. But, for some reason, because he's a 2-time Hall of Famer and all that stuff, we got to talk a little wrestling. And I honestly, when I watch WWE and I see some of the shit that I'm watching, I want to go to someone like Kevin and go, Kevin, what the fuck in that match that I just saw, and hear his take. So sometimes we have to be critical. I'll put over something if it works. When they used Rock last year, I thought they did it well. But mostly I have questions about what I'm watching, and I think it's because I'm out of touch. And I say it every week. I say I will happily, Kevin's best friend, Paul's best friend, Kevin, I will happily admit that my criticism comes from my being out of touch, from having watched a long time ago, first, in the Hogan era, and then kind of got back into it with ECW and the Attitude Era. So that's like what I base a lot of my benchmark opinions on.
And it doesn't jive. I go back to the Hogan, I go back to ECW.
And that's why you can't watch, because what happens today is kind of the antithesis of what made us want to watch. First, we were kids, right? So it was like the larger-than-life, real-life superheroes. Then we fell out of it a little bit when it got a little goofy in the 90s. Then ECW comes on, like, whoa, I can kind of suspend some disbelief here, because boy, did it look like that black gangster jumped off that balcony for real. And he did. And then the Attitude Era was like, it was like Tarantino films. The bad guys were cool, and they talked cool, and that's who you wanted to be. So that changed it up a little. I mean, I don't even know what today's product is now, and I know I'm out of touch. So I give my opinions on you.
I don't think it's as much out of touch as a factor as, in my opinion, not taking risks, not taking a chance to go outside the box. There's a reason why you're saying JCW is worth watching. Is because they don't go by the book, right? They don't do the standard shit. It reminds me of being at Sirius, right? At Sirius Satellite. When I got there, it was this pirate ship. It was this thing that we didn't have to do any rules. We didn't have to follow any of the order.
Wait, you were on Sirius?
And
fuck you!
I'll tell you what Howard was like in a minute. But when I was there, it seemed like, because it was populated by so many people who had been GMs of program directors of radio stations, they just fell into that same format. They had this ability to make an 80s channel, not play the same fucking songs over and over again, but they didn't give a shit. And they didn't have the fresh blood in there to roll the dice, to take the risks. And I feel that there's a lot of similarities out there. You had, when we were kids, you mentioned, the reason why I got hooked into WCW and the Four Horsemen and the Road Warriors was the reality of it, right? It wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't a bit. Yeah, I was younger, but these guys, all they did was talk about how much pussy they're getting, how much money they got, and how they beat the fuck out of everybody. That seemed pretty realistic. That seemed pretty basic life brags. And then you have...
They looked like they could beat you up, too.
And they looked like they could
absolutely. Juice to the gills, 6'5".
Not to mention
Adonis bodies.
Not to mention the stories they were telling. And then you have the ECW era, which is just craziness outside the box, extreme shit that everybody's like, oh my God, did you see this? Did you? And all those things, with the exception of the early stuff, were stuff that people took chances with and tried something different. And I think going to Saudi Arabia and putting your women wrestlers in a zoot suit isn't doing something different. It's not.
I said on the air that I couldn't believe. I mean, WrestleMania is going to be over there in 2 years, and I couldn't believe that the women that they put a lot of emphasis on the women's department, making them really not just superstars, but kind of voices for young girls that watch, right?
Yeah.
And I cannot believe that every one of them on that roster is going to go over there and do that. I read a litany of human rights violations on Kliq This that Saudi Arabia is still guilty of regarding women. And we're going to want Rhea to go over there and capitulate.
Well, she can inspire young girls to never get the opportunity to wrestle ever in their life, because that's the reality.
Yeah, I heard that there's going to be a lot of creative changes by the time they get to Saudi, and like even the names of finishers being changed. Like it said here that Jade Cargill's finisher is going to be changed to the clit remover. And it was like, fair
I was
enough.
waiting for the clit removal joke. I knew it was coming. Using.
I was waiting for a 9/11 finisher, but all right, whatever.
Thought it was
I'm
going to be a
old school.
penis attachment joke. But we were all, and you were far more brilliant than all of us, Yuzi.
Hey, listen, if Jade Cargill's got a dick, I'm sucking it, and I'm doing it with a smile on my face. She has a lovely smile, though. That's the most important thing on a her. But you mentioned Triple H's name there, and Vince Russo is consistently like 4 to 5 times a day calling him out on what's it called at the minute? Sex? I mean X. We're having a good time here. But the thing is, from your perspective, seeing Russo calling Triple H like that often, what do you think that looks like? Like, do you think that's a good look, or like, is it maybe a little desperate or anything? And hit the like button.
You're asking me?
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
That's what Vince does. When Vince decided to go to podcasting, he was going to take the persona. We're not all who we truly are when we put a microphone in front of our face, right? I mean, we're a little bit, some more than others, but his persona is the brash guy that talks about things that annoy him. And that's kind of what he does. So imagine he came out and approved of the product every week. He wouldn't have built the network he did. Yeah. So he kind of almost has to, just like Cornette has to be the cantankerous soul that he is. It's so funny when I deal with Russo and I talk to him, and anytime Cornette comes up, Russo goes, and then Cornette and Sean, I know he's your friend. But so I do enjoy that. But it's kind of his role. And here's the thing, though. He would be working if he was manufacturing things to have displeasure about. I think the 3 other people in this room with me would agree on 90% of what he's critical of with the current product.
Yes. Not only do I agree with it, but I think there's never been a better time to get heat, to get an audience, to get an opportunity with these people than by doing this now. By getting you get the people behind you, and shit happens.
And if there wasn't a little truth in everything he said, then it wouldn't go over with his audience. People would see through it. But there's always a lot of truth in where he's going with it.
Somebody brought up before in this room the when guys were gassed to the gills back in the day, and it seemed like this is really incorrect to say probably, but the physical was so important.
Yep.
At one time, because wrestling's like nothing. You can call it sports entertainment all you want. It's like nothing else on the planet. So I don't want my guys looking like baseball players or football players. I imagine walking into a locker room in 1979 and seeing Tony Atlas and Afa and Albano and King Kong Bundy, and either the fucking circus was in town or it's professional wrestling.
Yeah, you'd
and
say
that
this.
helped
What the fuck?
that helped fortify what the aura that it was creating. Today, I don't want to take anything from the athleticism of the performers. I think the guys today and gals today are probably physically more adaptable to a lot of different styles in wrestling, and just probably better athletes all around than your median average in 1985. However, it's not just sports. It's sports entertainment. It's like nothing else. So I think what I'm seeing, the people I'm seeing, have to look like nothing else. They have to look like nobody that I'm going to run into in a bar.
Or somebody you would completely turn the opposite direction if you see them and want to, hide. The other thing is with those guys back in the day, the big, huge guys, is they had the right dance partner to sell the fact that they were monsters, that they were huge, and that is something. Look, some of my favorites, one of my favorites, ultimate favorites, is Arn Anderson, specifically because of how he looks when he's getting his ass kicked. There is nobody facially that took a beating other than Flair that sold like Arn Anderson. When you watch Arn and Tully against the Road Warriors, I mean, he's getting the shit beat out of him, and his face is telling that story. And that made the Road Warriors, as big as they are, even fucking bigger and even scarier, So I think there's so many people worrying about getting their shit in and getting their moves in that
the suspension of disbelief is so hard right
Yeah.
now too. You watch, everybody's going to have their spot. You've got the Cucamonga kids bouncing around, doing flips off the top rope that look totally out of place. It just doesn't work. Before, back in the 80s, say what you will, not everybody was the best technical wrestler, but at least there was a story. It felt like there was a flow to everything. Now it's just about, okay, all right, let me call my spot. And there's no psychology in the ring like they used to have.
What are the ages of everyone in the room here? Are we all
I'm
in the same
50.
category, right?
I'm
I'm
40.
50.
47.
I'm 53. So
Still would.
Husey, you look terrible, by the way. Go ahead, Sean. You were
I
saying?
love drugs.
40. My God.
we'll see 40 now. Okay, so when did you start watching, Husey?
This episode?
Yeah.
I'll catch the replay.
I'm still waiting for you to catch
He'll
up.
never watch it.
I thought you
when
were
did you
here
start-
to promote Avengers Doomsday. I didn't realize this was.
Yeah, that's right.
I started in probably 91 when I was 20.
So see, that's interesting because that's a real shit time for the product.
Yes.
If you think this is when we had the garbage men and the fucking hockey players and the
Yep.
pig farmers and all that shit. So, and you were 20. So, but you're mentally handicapped, right? Obviously. So that
AF.
right. So that's why that shit appealed to you clearly.
It was
Because
right
that was a
after
real
the lightning strike, right?
Yeah, I just thought, because I remember seeing Bret Hart and I thought he was meant to be Robocop. And then I thought,
glasses.
fuck, he's really boring. Because that's the thing about it. A lot of those classic wrestlers are unbelievable bores. Like, Bret Hart could be getting his dick sucked by Sonny while Sable's over there with their
What's Penny
fist
up to
up
these days, by
Marlena's
the way?
cunt.
Anybody been keeping track of her? How's she doing? Is she still looking good?
Oh, Tammy?
I'm being very sarcastic. Of course.
Oh.
I wouldn't fuck her with Knight Melendez's dick. Allegedly. Thank you. I would though.
Can I ask this question, Sean? Is there any similarities when it comes to the product, like with cooking? The less shit you put in and get involved, the better this meal could be. Do you feel like there's way too much shit involved and the basics of wrestling and storytelling are kind of out the window?
Well, it was a very masculine analogy of
Thank you.
So you can drop your man card on the way out tonight. Something Kevin.
Conan big, Conan gay.
Thank you.
So one of the things Kevin will talk about is the punch.
Yeah.
They need to spend some time
Yeah.
on the punch down at the performance center. And whereas something like the chop, we've had a lot of fun on the show with the chop, as we want to foster believability and like maybe this is a bar fight. Kev, did you ever resort to the open hand chop when you were tossing somebody out of the cheetah club after he broke
I hate
a
when they start
bottle?
chopping and counting it out. It's like so lame.
But then something like the punch. How many motherfuckers can throw a punch in the ring today and look like they were about to take someone's head off? Or any of the women for that matter. Then, there's the forearm deal every once in a while, but just a fucking squaring off and throwing a punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a handful. There's a handful. So, yeah, to your point, if you master the basics, everything else is gravy. But if you're really focused on getting your guy onto the top rope, steadying him very obviously, whispering in his ear, tapping him on the back, tickling his balls, doing a 1, 2, 3 count, and then doing a superplex, then you're probably not focusing on the punch if you're of that mindset. So, and it suffers for me. It doesn't suffer probably for a 12-year-old kid that loves John Cena.
Right.
That stuff. Now, Cena doesn't do that. I'm just using him as an example because he sells all that merch. But yeah, all of that shit, the basics, the look. Kevin always says on the air, he's like, Sami Zayn kicked my fucking door down. I don't even think I'd reach for the gun. and that's kind of the point. Is
In
that,
Minecraft.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, to your point, I do think that's true to a degree. But again, we're a bunch of old fucks sitting here.
I know.
They're not marketing to us. We're not buying shirts.
Right.
Well, I got a question for Sean. Talking about sort of in my era was like the Attitude Era, and you of course are the star of Sherlock Holmes 1 and 2, the good ones. But I got to ask you about The Rock, notorious ladies' man who's infamous for loving to have sex with women, and we can all agree that that's what we've heard about him behind the scenes. Is likes to sex them up with his dick. Okay, and of
Loves
course,
the ladies.
So
right?
so unusual for a young, successful man, right?
yeah, it happens to so. You get your Tom Cruises, you get your John Travoltas, your Kevin Spaceys. They love fucking women. But the thing is, this is a very exciting time. I can understand why Dan's in such a good mood because it's official as of today that Jumanji 5 has gone into production. I'm excited. I know you are. Everybody wants to talk Jumanji 5, but I gotta ask you this one, Sean.
Did you see that Black Adam movie? That was a phenomenal movie. I mean, one of the
That
best
was-
superhero movies I've ever seen.
The best film I've ever seen. My favorite part was when The Rock stood there still, and I thought, this is fucking great. Somebody in the chat says Jumanji 3. No, it's actually Jumanji 5, because they did the Robin Williams one. There was something called Zathura in space. So The Rock came in at 3, then they did 4, so this is 5.
It
So
did a
I'm
Jumanji in
fucking right.
space. I think I missed that one.
Did you
that
see
like-
the Smashing Machine, the story about comedian Matt Mead?
Hey-o.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
All right.
But that actually brings up to my topic here. So The Rock has did stuff like the what's it called? Jungle Cruise. Then he did Black Adam, and then he just did the Smashing Machine, which while it was really good, was a complete bomb of like nobody went to see it. So the question I have for you, Sean, is do you think it basically has just come down to the fact that The Rock's star has fallen, that he is not the mega star anymore? He's just the Jack Black's sidekick in Jumanji 5?
Well, the four of us are all ones to talk about box office draw, so we'll be uber critical here. I think that he's a little bit of box office poison right now, and I don't know why that is, but He's very diversified. He's become one of those people he's no longer an actor. He's no longer an athlete. He's a product. He's got, I think, fucking deodorant out. I was in Target. His face is on some shit that you put on your body. So he's diversified across a million different fields. I don't even know if he cares. I guess he cares about box office, but it's just a matter of keeping your face out there at a certain point. So yeah, I do think there's a little bit of box office. He's a little bit of box office repellent.
And don't forget, when the movie bombs, he still gets paid in full. Nothing changes there, and he'll get another movie. It's not, it's not the end of the world.
It's just the right script to come along, Shuli, as you know. It's some rom-com.
Still waiting.
It's gonna come out. Oh, Shuli, let's enough of this wrestling shit. Are you still in Alabama?
I am.
You are.
Yeah.
I've heard you speak eloquently
Thank you.
about the cost of living expense. The change of that. You had the child. Lent some clothes to what's his name? We're still going to do an episode.
The
about
Goodsteins.
The greatest. It's the greatest 2 hours. If you can find it on YouTube out there. It's the greatest 2 hours of the Stern Show, and I'm going all the way back to '84. I started listening on NBC.
Thank you.
You had nothing to do with it. It was all good. So you're still in Alabama. You are spiritually satiated down there. You are aesthetically satiated. You are artistically satiated. Alabama's delivering for you. Yes.
Yeah, it's not. Listen, the most important thing was my kids get to be kids out here. Right? Like they get to ride bikes, they get to walk around the neighborhood, sleep over at friend's house, all this shit. When we left New York, everything was shutting down. Everything was either shut down or shutting down. And nobody knew what the future looked like and what was going to happen. And, I had a hunch, I had a feeling that one day in New York, they'd be hunting Jews. So I said, let's get out of here. And we got out of there.
And went to the South.
Yeah, why Alabama of all places? It just seems like a very random kind of place.
Well, it's funny you bring this up, Dan, because it circles all the way back to wrestling, which is I was friends and still am good friends with Conrad Thompson. And Conrad and
I'm a neurotic nerd who likes to sleep with little girls.
Mr. Mortgage. And we had known each other, I was still living in New York working at the Stern Show. And he was telling me years before we moved, just get some property out here. Huntsville is booming. Like Huntsville is it's going to be another Nashville. It's going to be another, Austin eventually at some point. And then when everything shut down and we were locked in at home, I was like, we started looking online at houses. And I was showing my wife, I'm like, look at what we could fucking live in for less than what we're paying in this 2-bedroom apartment.
That's legit. I mean, it's legit. But I have this fear. I'm in New Jersey, all right? So
sure.
It's basically New York. And I'm right. I mean, I could stand on my roof and see the skyline, right? So I'm right the ass end of the statue. And like when my wife and I talk about buying like 20 minutes west, I'm like, whoa!
Yeah.
You're leaving a cultural mecca. And so, like, is there any of that? Like, is there any fear that Andrea Bocelli won't play near you?
Well, you have for that question, there's Nashville, which is 2 hours away, and you can go see anybody play there that you're a fan of. But I can tell you that, I was definitely nervous before we got out here just to visit. And when we came out here just to visit to check out the area, this was during quarantine. This was during COVID. Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's protesting cops. Everybody wants to fucking cause shit. And this was the one place where it was like, it was untouched. People were wearing masks, but people weren't being dicks. People were having conversations with you. People were going to work. People were doing what they needed to do. And everybody was on the same page. And I think a lot of people who are outside of the South have a preconceived idea of what the South is. And yes, there are spots. If I drive to Birmingham on the way down there, you're passing places with Confederate flags on the porch, and
there's a lot of black people down there too, right?
There is, there's a lot of black people, depending on the town. There are some towns that are actually there was a town, Coleman, that they said was a sundown town for many years, which meant that no black people lived there. But a viewer told us yesterday that they have a football team now. So apparently black people are living in town there now.
Or it's an all-white football team. Which,
well, then they're shutting down the school.
Talk about ESPN 3 program.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
But no, it was very different, but for the good reasons. Like, I haven't been fucked with out here for being Jewish. A lot of people don't even know what Jews are out here. They just think I'm a white guy.
But you're not physically, like, you're not walking around with payas on your head.
Yeah,
so
but I'm not disguised as an Asian math whiz. I look like every fucking sketch of a Jew stealing money. It's not hard to figure out.
Caricature.
Yeah,
in KKK Monthly is.
Yeah, I look like the centerfold for Jewish propaganda. So it's like. I was definitely nervous about it, but people here do their thing. They don't. They're very open, very chatty. They may share a little too much too soon, but that's why I stay in my fucking section and do my shows.
Husey, what's your experience with the South, Husey? Have you been over here? Have you been down that way? Where have you spent time in the States?
I've seen Walk Hard a few times, if that helps.
Just watched it, you mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
But I don't know what this means, by the way. Night Melendez, Stalker, Ava just complimented you and said your comedy skills would make Shuli look bad. Congrats, the freak loves you.
That's to you.
I'm going to be in Florida next February.
Whereabouts?
I'm not exactly sure. We have a friend who's
Central Florida, Ocala area.
I was going to say, there's a few different Floridas. Like, I have a house in Palm Coast, which is on the East Coast, which is a lot of Northerners, very kind of Northern sensibility. But, you go to Central Florida, it is the South. Then you got Miami, and that's kind of just an anomaly. But
listen, I'm from Belfast. If I have to fit in with racists, that's not going to take me a lot of time.
Not a lot of time at all.
Are you visiting anyone while you're down there, Husey?
I'm going to see Mersh and Chad Zumark, if that's what you mean.
Oh, okay. So you're going to the Tampa area then. Okay. Yeah, Tampa's all right. Tampa's it's as well, at least from that side of Florida, is somewhat metropolitan. Somewhat. It's not quite South Florida, but
I'm pretty sure that I will be there, and if all goes to plan, I will knock a few back doors in, and such a same. But it's just
a sexual reference.
Yeah, kind of just tying back to the rock part. Speaking of anal sex, but Shuli, of course, you worked for the Howard Stern show. Do you remember Howard Stern, Shuli?
I do.
So you guys were a lot of gossipy old queens on that show. Did you guys ever hear any behind the scenes stories about The Rock? Not that there's anything wrong with it, of course.
No, I don't think he ever did the show when I was there. So I don't know if it was somebody that they wanted to book, and he actually no, he was on the K-Rock days, right? Didn't Eric the actor call in or something when he was on? I think he was on once back in the day, but
I don't remember ever hearing him on.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting confused with Kurt Angle. But yeah, I don't think he was ever really. When we would have these meetings where guests would get pitched, it was really about, is this guest on Howard's radar? Because if they weren't, Howard usually wouldn't be interested in it, no matter how popular they were at the time for whatever reason.
Shuli, do you still talk to anybody from the show? I know there's some acrimony with certain people over there, but any buddies you still have over at from the Sirius days?
Yeah, I have no bad blood with anybody there. I just don't really bother a lot of people there, but I do communicate with a handful of people. I know a good number of writers that listen and follow Rico and WATP. Yeah, I still talk to people there. I left on.
Do you think Howard's really gonna gonna hang it up and leave all these guys out to dry, or what do you think's gonna happen with those guys?
Well, I mean, some of these guys have been working for him for 30 years. How can you say he's leaving them out to dry at this point? I mean, he's given them an entire life. At some point, the guy's got to stop, and people, all these guys are very talented. They'll figure something out. They got a great credit.
I don't know how frank you're allowed to be, but
I didn't sign any. I didn't sign any.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean in like maybe losing relationships or whatever. But
sure.
So having listened to that show from '84 to present, I don't listen very much now, but so I was through a few phases of the Stern Show, right?
Yeah.
And you were there in a very interesting time. It was a very transitory time.
Yeah.
Because not just because you had your penis removed, but it was like the show was Howard.
Yeah.
For a long time.
It was called the Howard Stern Show.
For some reason, I haven't
Stay
figured
out
out
of
yet.
this
They should have traded that in though somewhere around the night. It was. I think I would say it was after Private Parts. I was going to ask you where the transition was, but I'm thinking maybe the movie had something to do with it. Everyone loved, and New York loved Howard because he was the curmudgeon-y guy in the basement beating off, who didn't want to deal with his family upstairs, who hated his fucking bosses, who was never paid what he should have been paid, and he was every man. And then he became Hollywood Howie.
Yeah.
And then he became everyone he made fun of and did imitations of. Now I listen to him, and it sounds like he's doing the old Larry King. It's like, you're a swell performer. When he would do these out of touch phraseology with like a young hip person who lands on Larry King for some reason. Well, that's fucking him now.
Yeah.
So, and then the show became, for me anyway, not about him, but for what all you guys were doing.
Yeah.
When did that happen? Were they aware that it was no longer the Howard Stern Show at some point? And at what point could he have hung it up and still retained some of what he had created? That totem, that celebration of being an outsider. The floor is yours.
I personally think that everything shifted and changed when he got hired to be on America's Got Talent. I think up until that point, things were still pretty wild on that show. Like don't forget, you got Richard streaking in the lobby of Sirius XM during a Martha Stewart party. You have guests storming off and Howard calling women cunts and chicks riding the Sibian and all this crazy. Yeah, you got Artie passed out on heroin and Sal waking him up with cymbals. Like
think of what you just said. Artie, Richard,
Well, all
guests,
of it,
girls on the Sibian. It's not about Howard anymore.
No, and that's what drew the people, because it was about where he was now, right? Here was a guy that was confined to rules and regulations on the radio, the bad boy, the shock jock. So now he's in this fucking place where they don't have the FCC, they don't have the rules, but you can't just come out and say cunt on your first show. Then it's got to be a process. He had to get used to that, I imagine, for 30 years never cursing, 40 years never cursing, now being able to curse on the air. It's got to be a big shift. I think once he got AGT, once AGT picked up a show from the West Coast and moved the entire product to the East Coast for him. And keep in mind, this was pre-new regime. This was pre-Hollywood Howie image. This was the fucking crazy guy, Howard, when AGT said, we want you to be a judge on here. And I think once he got a taste of that mainstream television, he was like, what the fuck? Why have I been treated like a fucking nothing all these years with everything I've done? This is the way I should be treated. This is the way I should have people getting me this, that, and the other things. And I don't want to have to worry. I don't want to have to police The Office. I don't want to have to police Howard TV. Take all this out of my hands and bring it all to me and drop it in my lap. And that's been the show since then.
Did you notice a change in him when that happened outside of the show?
Not necessarily, because I remember one Christmas party every year they threw this Christmas party where everybody
Yeah.
went to this restaurant, and it was a chance to get drunk and talk to Howard for 5 minutes without, somebody bothering you or him telling you, I'm going to take a nap, get out of the hallway, whatever it may be. And there was
I
one
love
night
that
where
shit.
he, out of the blue, he invited me to come sit at his table with him because I went to the food and I grabbed a plate of food and he was there and his table was right next to the buffet line. He just goes, Shuli, come sit down. And I'm like, my first thought is like, I'm getting fired. There's no way.
At the
Why am
Christmas party.
Yeah, like why is he asking me to sit with him? It's him, Robin, Beth, and another guy, attorney guy. I don't remember his name. And I sat there and I just listened to all of them, bitch about Trump the whole time. And I didn't say a fucking word. They didn't ask me a question. I ate as fast as I possibly could, and I got up and I left. And I was like, well, that fucking sucked. I remember 3 Christmas parties before that, me drunk, telling them jokes, him goofing on Sal, we're goofing on Ralph. Like, it was a hang. We were fucked up. It was a hang. It was so different, and it was so, there was definitely, I didn't hang out with him outside of work, but I could tell work-wise, definitely things were changing. There were edicts going out that, we're taking a break from the whack pack. We had too much whack pack, blah, blah, blah. We're scaling back on this. Then there's lists of people that aren't allowed to be played anymore or aren't allowed to come on. So
That was all from that big meeting, right? That was that big.
that was the start of all
PowerPoint. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, the famous PowerPoint.
Shuli, do you remember when? And then Husey and Dan, the rest of the show can be yours. Do you remember when Ronnie he did a toast at the I don't know if it was Howard's birthday party or the engagement party, and he like jokingly was like, "Why are you getting married, man?
Yeah.
We had so much fun, whatever." Because that's Ronnie's personality. Howard goes on the air. He talks about how he brought it up to his therapist.
Yeah.
And what a terrible thing for a friend to say. Maybe the therapist has never heard the show. So if out of context I told you that, at my engagement party, someone got up and said I shouldn't get married. And they say, well, that's terrible. I'm like, this is Howard Stern, offended, butthurt, on the cross, burned in effigy because Ronnie got up and started joking around. I was like, I don't know how to relate to this anymore. Is that Beth's influence? Like, what the fuck? Like, I think that's a good microcosm for when the Stern Show became everything the Stern Show isn't.
When it comes to Ronnie, and I've said this a million times, but there is one guy. If you told me there's one guy from that show that I got a call at 3:00 in the morning for some kind of help, Ronnie is the guy that would not only answer the call, would either get dressed and come help you or figure out a fucking way to help you. Ronnie is the most stand-up, solid human being at that place. And I fucking love Ronnie. And one of the final straws for me before I quit was the way they were giving Ronnie shit about needing to know who he's voting for. And I remember like thinking to myself, this has never been an issue on this show before. Like nobody's ever fucking cornered a guy, an employee from the show, and pointed their finger and say who you're voting for. And he's going, I don't want to talk about it. And they go, that means he's voting for Trump. And then you got people in the staff who've known him for fucking ever, longer than I have, who are like, oh, what are you, a Nazi now? What are you, a homophobe now? And it's like, fuck you, dude. If you're gonna fucking judge everybody like that here, then what am I wasting my time for? You're gonna treat this guy who's gotten up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and gone and picked you up and fucking been here for you, delivered great content on top of doing his fucking job, and this is what you're gonna, fucking treat him like? What does it matter?
That was more off-putting to you than the whole Scott thing when his wife passed?
Well, I mean, but Scott didn't help himself a lot in that when that was going down, because we had new management in place that everybody was terrified of. And so Scott at that time decides his biggest fuck up wasn't the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe was approved. They had no problem with that. His biggest fuck up was a benefit that he agreed to have with Artie on it, doing stand-up, raising money. And the problem with that is this was when Artie was really out of his mind, fucked up, and was going on any show, any podcast, and just shitting all over Howard and everybody. And it probably wasn't a good. Is it worth banishing him to some office and taking all his work away? Probably not. But it's a. He probably should have thought about that a little bit more before agreeing to because I think that left him. This is just my theory. I don't know for a fact, but.
All right, F, marry, kill, Shuli. Just so when you send Ronnie this link.
Yeah. I kill Scott. Go ahead.
Stephanie Mund.
Yeah.
No, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Robin Quivers, Marcy Turk.
Kill Marcy because I don't have any collared shirts. That was a big no-no. And then
You wouldn't tap that? You wouldn't tap that though?
No, because I'm anti-Jew broad. That's tried it, been there, done that. Not fun. NB, no bueno. So I would I'd get some of that Quivers money for sure. Yeah. I'd marry Quivers.
Mm-hmm. Did you like Robin? Did you get along with her?
Loved Robin. Robin did such a cool thing. She we were having our first kid. Robin's never met my wife before. She just organized a baby shower for my wife, and invited all of the heavy hitters from the show, their wives, and we ended up getting amazing things at that baby shower. And she didn't have to do that. And every year she always gave me gifts for my kids for their birthdays. So she's very sweet, very nice woman.
Well, Robin was a really good-looking woman for a long time. Well, not a long time, but a temporary period of time, and then she began to melt.
Hey, we all were, act accordingly. We all were hot at one point, What are you going to do?
The cans alone give her, that moves her into a higher echelon.
For sure.
Hauling those dogs around and what you could do to those.
That's kind of sexist to say, Sean, because she had a big fat mud hut as well.
Right, that's true.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, we can't ignore a woman's fart box. That's you got to goose something in public. You go, nice to meet you, fucking whore.
Yeah, I left there with literally no enemies. I don't hate anybody there.
Not even
sucks.
Gary?
No, especially not Gary. It took me a while once I got out of there to realize how much of it was my fault, my issues with Gary and fighting with Gary, than it was his fault. But that's you gotta live and learn, man.
Shoot, I was wondering whose wig looks worse, Hard's or Robin's?
Well, I gotta tell you, you haven't seen the one I'm wearing right now. That's why my camera's off, so that might win it.
But it's funny, Sean, you were talking about when noticing when Stern specifically changed, but I remember it was Gary Delabate had just used his money to get like a sports room built in his house, a reviewing room
man
built
cave.
in his.
Oh, it was the theater.
Yeah,
it was the theater, and he didn't do a last row of seats. He put tables, and Howard did an hour and 45 minutes on that.
The
I remember
stools.
that.
The
And
stools.
Stools.
That's right.
And it was so fucking ridiculous, and I thought it's like, this guy is a cunt, and then he just started talking about, if I was a judge on America's Got Talent, and he just did this every day. And it's like, what happened to this show? It used to be about Jenny Jameson fucking swallowing hot dogs. It used to be about getting dirty Huas on here, like Dice isn't a Hua, but getting him on for interviews and Beetlejuice. It's like, this is terrible. You're bringing Ashton Kutcher on to tell him about how great of an actor he was in Cheaper by the Dozen 2. It's like, this show fucking stinks.
That's a big thing too, Husey, when you look at credibility. Like, he used to have a jar that was the size of, it was life-size Rosie O'Donnell's head, and he filled it with jelly beans.
Yeah.
And people would have to guess how many jelly beans would fit in her oversized head. And then he became like that. That suddenly disappears from the zeitgeist, and Hollywood Howie is telling her how, and then the Ellen DeGeneres when he talked about how great the segment when she dances is so funny. I don't know who I'm listening to anymore. So when people ask, do I listen to Howard, I say, which era are you talking about? It's just that hypocrisy is a big part of it, Husey.
For a perfect example of how unpopular the Stern Show has become, Mick Jagger was on the show about a year or two ago, and Mick Jagger cut the interview off early because he was like, "This is boring," and
Right.
Stern was like, "Well, I was wondering if I could ask you about," and so Mick Jagger walked off the Stern Show, and the media didn't cover it because it was so few people actually gave a shit. And that's what I think's the problem. And just to tie it back into The Rock so that I can clip this, I think that's the problem with The Rock as well. Once they get to this elite, super rich level, they just go, you know what? I mentally give up. I physically, if I can burn 100 million tomorrow and still have a few more 100 million, then I actually don't give a shit.
It's a conscious choice I think they make. I always used to say, before I did important stuff like this, I was a film and television actor with a couple of hundred credits to my name, but still it's going to be Batista's dick on the thing. But
Hey, it's gay for pay, Sean. Nothing you can do about that.
What
Go
I would
ahead.
say is there does come a point, I think, when you get a level of success that I would never achieve, you've got to decide if you're going to be an actor or you're going to be a movie star. And it's two different things. And like you've got Tom Cruise, right? We all know he chose. And then like someone like Sean Penn, who could have probably made choices for the money. And I mean, he's brilliant and an amazing actor and a performer. But something else was more important to him. So no matter what it is,
women.
wrestling and allegedly, I think you have to decide what road you're on. And Rock, Dwayne has chosen that road, and that's what he's on now. So it's a different thing, I guess.
I guess you could say he's on a rocky road. Am I right?
Oh, thank you. I was waiting.
There you go.
What's the listenership like these days, Husey? Are we exploding with numbers? Where are we headed with the show? The show feels very much like the other times I've been on. Have there been improvements?
I was going to ask Sean, how did you find yourself in this cesspool? I mean, you could be doing so many better things than Husey is kind of like the last stop on the podcast road here.
I'm foolish in that I tend to do the thing and spend time with the people that I enjoy. It may not be the best career move always, right, but there's a simpatico, right? There's a magic that happens when a couple of people are similarly minded. I've done a lot of podcasts and interviews over the years, and there's some that I don't know. It feels more conversational than there's the others that I know I'm going to go on and answer the same 20 questions. But I don't know how I landed in this, Dan. I verbalize that to my wife a lot when
you said it. You
offered another book about wrestling instead of important things. And so my wife always goes, so you're making money in entertainment, like 1% of the world, and what are you complaining about?
Yep.
And I go, fuck you, you're right again, and all that stuff. And I'll go write another book about a Cuban exile who worked for the CIA and trained Lee Harvey Oswald at a CIA camp and then went on to become one of the original Scarfaces in Miami. I'll do that another time.
Can we find that book on Amazon and other booksellers?
Everywhere books are sold. Monkey Morales came out in September. It is a riveting true story. I found his son. I read about him in a book called Hotel Scarface that they based a very bad TV series called Hotel Cocaine on. And Ricardo Morales was one of the guys in this story about the Cuban drug kingpins in the 70s. But when they would go into his story in this book about having worked for Fidel Castro and then come here and worked for the CIA and the FBI, I was like, this is the most important character. This is the most interesting character in the story. So I just went on this insane quest, and I found his son alive in Michigan. And I said, give me a year of your life. Let's do something with this. We wrote it for TV. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
We've been optioned. That TV script had been optioned 5 times. And so last year we were passed on by Rob Reiner, and I said, Ricardo, I've put you and your family through the ringer here for 5 years. I have the in publishing. Let's just do it as the book. Let's take a year and find all the FBI documentation and all the CIA documents and White House documents and talk to as many people who are alive as we can. And let's do it as a book. Put the footnotes in, do it the right way. And if somebody wants the story, they can buy it from there for TV. So that's how it became a book.
Rob Reiner's favorite film, of course, is Poltergeist, especially the young actor. But speaking of books, that brings me to the topic I've got to ask you about. Everybody loves Vince McMahon, and the rumor at the minute is that he is currently working on the book of his life story.
Sean's a big Vince McMahon guy. Everything Vince ever did, Sean just loves it.
Well, this is distressing because I'd like to write that book with him. My agent's got to make that call. Is he really writing a book, or are you?
That is according to JBL, who is his what do you call it? One of his real life friends that he's currently working on a book. And the thing is, how realistic do you think that's going to be? Because Vince McMahon must have stories that would change your testicle size.
And would never tell them. Anything that I'd want to hear Vince McMahon, well, strike that. There's one thing I would love to hear Vince talk about, and that is the transition from the regional territory of his father's company in 1983 to just in 2 years, the monolithic global marketing machine that it was. Forget that it's wrestling. Doing that in a business sense is fascinating. So that I would want to read about. Nothing else is going to be legit. Everything's going to be written like a work. It was like reading Hogan.
They're not going to tell you about shitting on a girl's chest or anything. I mean, you're not going to
Rita Marie in the back of the limo. You're not going to hear any of that shit.
Fucking Sable.
And that's what, the series, we had a series called Timeline, the history of WWE. And each episode of that show covered 1 year with me and somebody who worked high enough on the card that year to be able to talk about what happened backstage, what happened business-wise, and what happened in the ring. The reason I did that was because I knew no one would ever be able to write the truthful story of the WWE. So I wanted that to almost be like an open-ended book on film. You may wonder why people always say, why do you have all those title cards with all that text on that show? You always cut away to that. And well, because the idea was it was going to be a book on film, each chapter told by a different person that was in a prominent enough position to talk about that entire year, from the beginning of the company through as far as we could go. Because I knew we were never going to get the real story.
But
who was your favorite interview in that series? Who did you get the most out of for those?
My favorite interview is always the one that makes the most money, of course. But from a Mark standpoint, I loved sitting with Roddy Piper for 3 hours and being able to. And I didn't see that Pat Patterson revelation coming either. That was nothing I knew was going to be talked about, and I heard he got a lot of heat out of Connecticut for that when he told me about that or alluded to that.
But the thing, Vince probably has stories where he's like, so we're in the Playboy Mansion, me and the Ultimate Warrior's doing coke, and next thing you know, Hulk Hogan drives through on a Harley Davidson through the hotel, and he's got his strippers underpants in his mouth while Macho Man and Piper are having a knife fight in an alleyway. It's like that's the stories I want to hear. I don't want to hear about it. Well, WCW was our competition, so we had nobody cares.
Well, that's why we had the talent tell each year of the company's story. Yeah.
My favorite interview I ever did was with Marty Jannetty. It was at Cheetah's Gentlemen's Club in Las Vegas, and I went into the bathroom to take a piss, and I look over, and walking in and pissing next to me is Marty Jannetty, WWF at the time, just had a show at Thomas and Mack, and I didn't know the boys were coming there, and I'm standing there pissing, and I look over and I go, "You're Marty Jannetty." I go, "I used to watch you when I was a kid," and he just leans towards me and he goes, "Don't tell any of these whores that. I don't want them knowing how old I am." And that's how we met. And he invited me back to their section, and it was him and Goldust and Taker showed up at one point, and like it was fucking.
Oh, you must have been rock hard.
Oh my God! I shook. I tried. I went to shake Undertaker's hand, and his fingers almost went up to my elbow. Like that's how big his fucking hands were, and how tiny my hands are. And I just sat there like a fly on the wall and just watched these guys get drunk and tell stories and bust each other's balls. It was amazing. That's the club that's owned by the Godfather, or he was the manager there.
He was a manager.
Yes.
The original Cheetah Club was in Atlanta, and that was
Right.
one of Kevin's first jobs out of college. Nash was a bouncer at the Cheetah Club, and that's how he met a lot of the boys before he even got in the business. He was just a bouncer at the club.
But the first time I ever met the Godfather, I got booked to do halftime, to do comedy at Cheetah's at halftime on their Monday Night Football, thing that they did.
Boy, I
every
bet
Monday
that
night.
was a very participatory crowd. I'll be
Turns
kind.
out when they come to see
Get
Tits
off
and
the stage,
Snatch-
bring back the hose.
yeah, exactly. And when they come to see Tits and Ass, they don't want a fucking balding Jew up there. But they go, the one of the guys that it was through a radio station or something. He basically ripped off an idea from Howard, and it was the stripper game. And he goes, we want you to go ask these strippers general knowledge trivia. And I'm like, and I was calling into Howard at the time, so I was like, hey, man, that's a Howard bit. You know, I don't feel comfortable. Like,
look at you.
right.
Comfy
And then
man.
he's like,
Yeah.
it pays $150. I'm like, all right, I'll do the bit.
I'm in.
So I walk over, and the first question was, what's the vice president's name? And I asked the girl, I go, what is the vice president? It was Dick Cheney. And she says, can I have a hint? And I said, it's something your uncle made you touch when you were younger. His first name. And the audience actually laughed, and then she got it, and then she cried and left the stage. No. And that was the end of the halftime bit. And then somebody comes over to me and they go, Bear wants to see you. And I go,
Oh, that's never good.
I go, what? They go, Bear wants to see
Real
you.
small individual, very timid. I'm sure with a name like Bear, right?
And they take you out this door that no customers ever go through this door. And they walk me into the parking lot, and there's this bungalow in the back. And they bring me into this bungalow, and there's Godfather sitting. Now, I still haven't yet to make the connection that it's him. And I sit
So
down.
his nickname was Bear.
Yes, that's what they called him,
wow.
right? And I sit down, and he's like, hey, man, what the fuck you doing making my girls cry, man? You can't be doing that shit. I mean, it's funny, but you can't do that to him. And as he's talking, I'm looking at him, and I go, are you the fucking Godfather?
Papa
He's like,
Shango.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, let's fucking get high. What are we doing? And we got baked. We got baked, me and him. So it was great.
See, that already is a better story than any of the ones in John's book. Did you read Stuttering John's book? I read it.
Easy for you to say.
I know he's the subject of all of your shit, but I wanted to read something from the inside from somebody who didn't owe anybody anything, right?
Right.
So, and that was the only person I think that would have ever had anything that revelatory.
The problem was
he's
he
been
got
there a
caught,
long time.
but he got caught trying to sell this book while he was still there. You know, that was a big thing. Howard caught him up in.
But not the content, right? Nobody knew the content of it. It was just
They
that he
knew
was
that it
writing
had
a
to
book.
do with they knew that it had to do with some behind the scenes shit. Because the problem was Buchwald was the super agent, right? He represented everybody on that show.
Yeah.
And if anybody made a fucking move against Howard back then, Buchwald, he knew. He knew. They went right to
It was
him.
very German of you to put the V in there, by the way.
Yeah.
You need to be careful.
Buchenwald.
It was a cultural shock here. So that's a great Godfather story. I wanted to ask you also. You what did you just make? I wanted to jump on something that you said. All right, move on. It'll come to me.
But the great thing about
comedy. Did you ever see? I had the misfortune
Go ahead.
to be brought to a night of comedy stylings by. Now, the person who brought me knew I wanted to meet this person.
Okay.
So it was a big surprise. I walk in, the comic stylings of Ron Jeremy.
Oh my God! Wow. I mean-
Little did you know that all his punchlines are assaying a woman backstage.
Yeah. So after 2 jokes, women picked essay instead of the rest of the set. That's how bad it was.
Oh my God! And when you see him on camera, like in the porns, he's
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like ad-libbing and throwing weird shit in, mostly because a guy that looks like that with a cock like an elk, probably you don't expect him to say these funny things. But when he's alone in the spotlight and has to command the room, oh, I mean, there was a little bit of, there's the polite laugh, right? People, guys there,
Uncomfortable.
fans of Ron. So, it's Ron. After like 5 minutes, people were thrown in the towel. It was horrendous.
Yeah, there's a couple Jews, Ron being one and Goldberg being the other, that have made such great strides for us and also fucked things up real bad for us, you know?
Well, I would have said Harvey Weinstein instead of Goldberg, but never mind that. But the thing
What's
with
wrong with
Ron
him?
Jeremy, and this kind of makes me think that maybe Ron Jeremy wasn't so much of a nice guy, in my opinion. That he's literally being paid to have sex. So that's your source of income by having sex with these big-titted whores. So his thing is, okay, I'm getting paid money to have sex. I better go essay someone backstage. Like you're costing yourself money. That's not living up to the stereotype.
It
I
could
know
be
no
worse.
details. I know no details of that trial or anything. I do know that 1 week before, he was on. I had a solo podcast at the time. I was just trying to figure this world out, so I did a solo podcast. And I had him. I called the episode "Ron Jeremy Came on My Podcast." Thank you. And I didn't know what was to come. No pun
Wait,
intended.
what?
Yeah, and then like a week later, he gets hooked up for these horrendous charges. I just wanted to have this brilliant conversation with him about like the transition from film to video in the porn world and how that affected everything. But he was wildly distracted, I guess, with what was about to happen.
Well, look, as far as making income, it could always be worse. You could be stuck, reading super chats,
Trundle snatch McFart stink.
and that's not fun for anybody.
How many people are in the chat room right now, Husey? What are we hauling in here? What's the
48.
money haul right
Right
now?
around about 50, right about now.
But once I
Putting up
clip
the
this up,
numbers.
I'll clickbait the living shit out of it, and that's where we all
doubt.
cash in. But who would you? Well, I was going to say who would you rather be? Whose career would you rather have? And then the eventual outcome: Ron Jeremy or Stuttering John? I'm gonna start with Shuli on that one.
Oof. Well, they're both going to end up behind bars, I feel like, eventually. At least Ron got laid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Sean.
John's wife was hot, wasn't she, back in the day?
She was, and crazy apparently.
So is John's daughter before her dick grew in.
Well, the crazy ones were always the best, right? Julie, come on, you've been on the road. You're a man on the road. You're a married man now with kids, but
Yeah.
you were, back when you were doing your Charlie Brown lookalike comedy on the road deal.
Yep.
You must have had your share of ladies. The crazy ones were always the best, right?
Cheetahs was the spot, man. Cheetahs was like a farm team for crazy in Vegas.
Wanna fuck? Let's fuck!
I mean, just the nuttiest broads there, and they are insane. They are insane.
Yeah.
And a party.
Nothing like a nice fucking whore. But just as we're wrapping up,
Here's
I
a
gotta-
T-shirt.
Yeah, quote me, Mom. But just as we're wrapping up, I gotta ask you, Sean. Of course, you do the very successful Kliq This with Kevin Nash. My side job, of course, I work for Conan Disco and Keep the 100.
Are you guys rivals, by the way? Or is it all kind of copacetic because you're all in the same?
Is this a
space?
shoot or work, bro?
We pay attention to nobody. It's the best way I can. The best way. I can
And you
say it.
guys
We don't
have
give
more of a unique vibe anyway. You guys kind of do your own thing. It's obviously
We
Kevin
just
driven.
do our own thing. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, that's fine. Get the fuck off. It's like we really don't pay attention. Shuli Sirius came to us. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. But,
Go ahead.
all right.
I'll allow it.
And they clearly never dealt with Kevin Nash in contract negotiation. Needless to say, we're not on Sirius.
Yeah.
But so, and it's very much that. It's like we do what we do, and we're barely, I mean, we bullet point, maybe we'll talk for a couple of hours, and then we'll just go on. And unlike the heavily scripted shows like this, and yeah, and it's like, I don't think people that in the podcast realm, it's very important to have a niche. You know, you need to have that. What category are you in? And people don't understand when we go, well, he was a wrestler. We don't really talk about wrestling. Sometimes we do. He was in movies. Sometimes we talk about that. And I think that's uncomfortable. I think people in the wrestling podcast world talk about, you know, the Bunkhouse Stampede, you know, for 2 hours this week. And next week it's going to be War Games 97.
Right.
And it's so regimented, and it's the same fucking item on an entire salad bar. So there's no rivalry because we don't really pay attention, listen, or care what everyone else is doing. We're similar in that way, which is why the Simon and Garfunkel thing works. I'm clearly Paul Simon in the analogy.
I'm such a mark that I immediately could remember the main event of War Games 97, which was the NWO versus the Horsemen. Conan was in it, and Nash, our bosses. You know,
They don't have dating apps out there where you're at.
I can't get hard.
Not then.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't matter. Yeah. But the thing I gotta ask you, Sean, about it's about fan criticism, because keep the 100. There is nothing that they can do right in the eyes of the fans. Like they talk too much, they talk too little, or they're dragging it out, or they're speeding. Or they get political, all this shit. And Nash is a very political, lovely young man who I've met while I was totally wasted. That's a story that I was on cocaine for, and drunk. And I'll even as a viewer, like, he does bring everything back to politics, and he's very one-sided. And sometimes I don't know if it hurts the show or helps the show. But for you, Sean, what from your perspective, what do you think of that and reaction to it, and how big is your penis?
That's actually the first part of that's actually a very good question, because what we managed to do in our short time, in our 3 years here, is alienate half of the country, which is silly, because we really are very centrist in our opinions. We diverge on some stuff, but I think most thinking people are. They're most vocal on the wild ends of the political spectrum, but most
what did you say?
Most people land within 10 or 15 percentage points of either side on most of their opinions. Nobody's entirely this or entirely. Well, there are, but they're the fringe, right? They're the people that storm the Capitol, or on the other side, burn down a city when they don't like a judge's decision. Most people are in the middle, and people don't take the time. They hear the one thing that they find incendiary to their political belief, and then they label you this or that. So yeah, if you scroll down the comments of any of the YouTube posts of our shows, there are literally sometimes comment after comment of diverging. One will say, here goes politics hitting the fast forward. And then the next one will say, thank God you're talking about real life things outside wrestling. So once again, the lesson is, and this is something I knew from before, with running Kayfabe commentaries or reading book reviews or when I was in movies, you just really can't listen to anybody.
You just got to do your thing, man, because those wackos are going to leave for one reason or another at some point. They'll figure out a reason to storm off in disgust. You don't have to go out of your way to piss them off.
And, you know, singing the song you sing is what got you to wherever you are. So if you're going to start to try and cater that or care about the other stuff, the tune is going to change, in keeping with my bridge over troubled water analogy from before.
But do you ever feel that, even as a for the sake of drawing in the numbers, that Nash, like, I've noticed in Keep No 100, there's times Conan and like Disco will be like, I don't know the story, move on. It's like there's no way you don't know the story. Like, like you're not like. Do you think that sometimes it hurts the show when Nash seems to give such little of a shit on a certain topic? Not that he has to be like a mega mark like me or Dan, but especially Dan, I'm totally cool. Like, do you think, fuck, if only he would talk about, as you said, War Games 97, did you think that could be a good 20-minute block for YouTube?
I ask him wrestling questions, and the other thing too you have to remember is that Kevin was never a wrestling fan. He was this big giant guy at the Cheetah Club that someone, I think Barry Windham, might have been like, "Hey man, you're a big fucker. You ever think about this?" And that was it. I mean, he didn't watch when he was a kid. It was on. He was in Detroit, so he got the Sheik's big time wrestling product, so he was aware of it. But I mean, he's not like Waltman, where you could say, "Hey, you ever see Pompero Firpo's match?" And then he could tell you every television match he had. That's not Kevin. So I ask him as many wrestling questions that are palatable. I love like when we go to the fan questions at the end, and someone will be like, "So in War Games 97, Kevin will go, "No idea, don't remember," and that's it. But the great thing about it is, and the reason Kevin's interesting, to suck his dick a little bit here, is you can talk about. He was an art history major in college. All right, so like right there, he played basketball for the Volunteers. He played professional basketball in Europe. He was an art history major. He was an actor. So you can bring up almost anything and be able to talk to Kevin about it. And those were the people in the wrestling. I was friends with people in the wrestling business off camera with Kayfabe. It was people like that. That's why Kevin and I do the show, because off camera we always had a good time. Sullivan, someone else like that I could sit at dinner with, and you could talk about almost anything. You go real estate, the market, anything with Kevin Sullivan, and have an interesting conversation. So there's a handful of people like that are interesting in the business, and Kevin is one of them. That's why the show is successful, is because Kevin can go almost anywhere. And his identity, what people in the business know Kevin as, the rest of the world know Kevin as. He could be a little curmudgeon-y and all these other things. So he's kind of brought that character out to the masses on Kliq This, which drops every morning at 6 a.m.
All right, sold, Sean. I'll do the show. I'll come on as a guest. You got it.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
We have very few guests. That's another thing. That's another thing you should ask me, Sean. What about having guests? We did it on our premium channel a few times, and Kevin would always say, "I want people to tune in for us."
Smart.
Yeah.
And
But I get a question, and this is kind of serious and maybe a little bit of a mood killer, but like a few years ago, I think it's coming
Auschwitz?
up. Yeah.
Yeah. This is good. I got to go and eat dinner, so really bum me out in these next few minutes. Go ahead.
So Kevin Nash went through something that gives the rest of us like legitimate anxiety and about ever happening. Like his son passed away, and like nobody's ever thinking, get over it. Talk about War Games. That Kurt Hennig must have been cool to wrestle with, right? But what do you think about the types of critics who, like, I'll see those comments so I remember it was, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but somebody literally wrote, "Can he not just get over it already?" And you think, what a jerk store, pardon my language, guys.
Yeah.
Well, on that, I'll say that we had only been doing the show 3 months or 4 months. Tristan was helping a lot on the show, and we wanted him more and more to get involved, almost like a Stern Show thing. Tristan, if you have something to say, throw it out. You don't have to shirk into the background because it's your dad's show. And he was really funny, and so when he passed, I'd been talking with Kev all night from the hospital, and then about around 6 that morning, around 2, it looked like we knew where it was going to go, and then at around 6, he said he's gone. And so I unfortunately had to snap into the other, like, all right, we have a show. So I had to call Conrad, and I had we're kind of new to it, and he was great. And he said, whatever you guys need. I said, well, I think just right now, if I can get some like best of stuff together and just get some, and then maybe we're gonna probably for at least a few weeks, maybe months, maybe a year, gonna need to put some people in his seat. I don't know, if he's going to be able to do this. And I called my engineer and start pulling footage and stuff. And then at about 4 in the afternoon, I get a text from Kev. He goes, "You didn't send me the link for tonight." I said, "Because you're not doing a show." And he wrote me back and he said, "The world needs to hear this from me." And that set a tone.
Yeah.
And that's why we go real on the show. Sometimes we're shitty with each other, and sometimes we're having fun, and sometimes and we recorded it that Saturday, and he told the world for the first time on that show. And I realized that, okay, he wants it to be very real. This is going to be very un-podcasty. And from that time, for all the dick jokes and stuff that we still have people writing in, posting comments when they have lost, when they connected with Kevin in a very different way.
It definitely humanized him, that whole episode.
However, the flip side of this that I do have to tell you is, and I have to link this all to the political discourse in the United States, and that Kevin was making it very clear where his allegiances were. He dealt with really, really hellacious things from people who didn't agree with him politically. They got his phone number right around this time where he and his wife were putting his son to rest, and they just said horrible things about, someone who supports a vaccine, this is what you expect, like just really. And so for all the money or whatever people, are envious of Kevin for, I've seen him have to deal with really bad things. People, when you're in the public eye, like Kevin is, people think they have implicit permission from a distance, of course, to do or say anything to you. And a lot of people used, and it still happens sometimes, you can scroll those comments occasionally and, Tristan's name will pop up. Most of the time in wonderful ways. The music, we play his music on the show and our end credits. But sometimes you get some douchebag who wants to take an opportunity to weaponize the death of his son against him for political reasons.
Fucking gross.
So there's two sides to that, Husey.
Cunts.
Fucking gross. And I get a little bit of that from Dan online, and I'm not a fan of it. So stop it, Dan. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just a quick super chat here by All Apologies Podcast. Thanks for the 5. Let's get him to the hack. It's like get him to the Greek with even more Diddy interactions. Mo homo, and I think that's a perfect follow up to that very serious conversation topic that we just had, which I will clickbait into the title. Sean Oliver tells Kevin Nash to go fuck himself.
There you go.
But just as we're wrapping up, of course, I will have this all clipped up and clickbaited and all kinds of shit.
You're gonna circumcise the shit out of this episode, right, Husey? Clip it all up. Take out anything with me. Let's just get Sean. Let's get it prominent. You can maybe crop the screen and get all those clips ready to go for your audience.
Coach, you ain't getting cut out of nothing, Coach. You're in.
Yeah.
Come on. What are we talking about here?
This is exactly why people need to check it live. It's the only time to catch my bombs. But hit the like button, though. But for all the plugs that will be clipped down below, let's start with you, Dan. You've got a lovely face.
Thank you. What do you want? Final remarks? Final comments?
No.
Final plugs.
Final plugs. Check out the Shmuel Buckman show on YouTube. He's an up and comer in the Dabbleverse. An older gentleman. Really interesting show from a geriatric point of view. Check it out, Shmuel Buckman. I think he goes live Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes on Saturdays. So check it out, Shmuel Buckman on YouTube.
I would pay money to see a Shmuel Buckman versus Kevin Nash bar fight. We've got to get that shit going. Shuli in the John Cena costume. It's still funny. Shuli, what did you think of? What are your plugs, my sweet?
The Shuli Network, TSN. Go subscribe. Get yourself a membership. We will be back tomorrow night to analyze John saying,
"Ram my fart box into oblivion."
So tune in for that as we break down why John wants his fart box rammed into oblivion.
And
you guys are covering Stuttering John on your show? Is that a new
We're getting
thing?
back into the business, Dan.
They're gonna start.
You should talk about how he has a stutter.
We'll get there. This is our first episode. We're good.
I'm sorry. And Sean, you've got a million things, such as doing stand-in work for Avengers Doomsday 2.
I guess I got to get to the set of Iron Man, but before, I guess I'm supposed to do this and tell everybody that Monkey Morales is available wherever books are sold. Kliq This is out there if you would like to read about ECW's inception and early days. Todd is God is fine reading or listening on audiobook, if you'd like to do that as well. And Shuli, we always talk about doing another one entirely about the that show, but you must be so fucking tired of talking about that show.
Not with you. With Husey, well, I'm sick of them and the topic,
right.
But with you, let's do it anytime.
That's why I never want to push it, because I could just imagine.
Brother, what else am I going to fucking talk about? You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Don't worry about it. You want it? I'm here for you, Shawnee.
The Cheetah Club, clearly, was the most interesting thing on this show tonight.
That's just
Sean,
that and Janetti's foot. Go ahead.
Sean, you can literally bring back timelines, but for the Stern show.
Yeah. I'll break some shit down with you, man.
That's interesting.
I was a mega fan for many years before I started working there. So
yeah, and you're indebted to no one, right? There was no clause signed, right? We can go dirty.
They told me I needed to sign this NDA to get my severance, and but I couldn't talk about the last 15 years of my life. And I said, no, thank you. I'd rather be able to talk about that.
Wow, you got a set like that? You turned that down?
Yeah.
How much approximately was that severance?
It was a lot. I was there for 15 years. It was
wow.
Yeah.
What? So you thought there was more value in being able to talk about it than taking the cash? Obviously.
Well, like I'll give you an example. Like a really cool story that sticks out in my mind from my time there was Norm Macdonald was a guest on the show in the morning, and then this was later in the afternoon, and I was running around doing my news stories, and Norm is at one end of the hallway, and I'm at the other end of the hallway. I've never met Norm before. I've never interacted with him.
Or will again.
Yeah, and I'm starting to walk towards the recording booth where I record my script, and I just hear Norm's voice, and he goes, "Who's that, Shuli?" And I'm like, there's no fucking way Norm Macdonald just said my name. And I start walking towards him, and we shake hands, and he tells me how much he loves the Howard 100 News, and he tells me that his Langford's brother, Steve Langford, who was the reporter, is a really good friend of Norm and has known Norm for years, and then he invites me to Caroline's to do a guest spot on a show later that night. And so my argument with management when I was being told to sign this was like, does this story fall under this umbrella? Like, if all I said was, if you just give me more specific,
what's the line?
Tell me what you don't want me to talk about, and I'll sign it. And they were like, no, everything. And I was like, no, doesn't work. Later.
Good for you.
Fuck him. Well,
I would have taken the money myself, but I'm.
Yeah.
Believe me, there's days where I think I should have, because it's not like I'm doing a podcast shitting on Howard every day.
So you mentioned Steve Langford's brother. More autistic or less autistic than Steve Langford?
Less.
Okay.
Less. Steve is the craziest fucking human being when it comes to getting news stories I've ever met in my life. Insane.
Right.
But I'll save that for your show, Sean.
Yeah, we'll chop it up sometime. We're gonna do. I'll do your show whenever you want, Husey. Once again, I'm leaving here feeling like we've talked about nothing of value. So
correct.
This was absolutely a waste of all of our time.
Consistent. So it's consistent with your entire canon. Well done.
Yeah, let's close it out with this.
Mongolian pussy.
All right, that's it. That's all we really. I mean, we've touched all the bases.
So we'll do a big old school wave goodbye, and thanks everybody.
Take care.
I'm waving.
Donnie Brasco, it was nice to meet you too. We'd never spoken before, but nice to meet you.
As well, thanks.
Bullshit.
And if you leave me now, you take away the biggest part of me. Ooh, baby, please don't go.